Kideaters vs. Zoo BoyZ, Chapter 15, Part B. She couldn't hear him, but the three boys heard him shouting. They all yelled at the same time, "Dave!" She picked up Quasi and put him in. She looked back again, then reluctantly got in. It swept her up while her eyes stayed downward, looking at the shoreline, the sand, and the woods inside the zoo's fence. When they brought her on board, Ronnie asked, "Did you see any sign of David?" She nodded no. Admitting her defeat was painful. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat! The rattle of machine gun fire from the back took their breath away. The aircraft shook. The captain yelled into the mouthpiece, "What the hell? Are we under attack? What did you see, Corporal? Over." He heard the answer, "No, thought we were." Major and her boys could hear the communication between them when they yelled, but when they spoke softer, the communication only went through the helmet speakers. Within moments, they were given the helmets with the built-in communication devices. The captain insisted, "Tail gunner, Corporal, what do you see? Over." Before he could answer, Jeremy shouted into the mouthpiece, "Dave! It's Dave! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!" The others were relieved to see Dave wobbling down the beach, close to the water, but fighting not to go in it. Major commented, "He looks injured." He still had the taser, cattle prodder, with him. The gunner reported, "Stand by, no friendly fire. We have a friendly approaching. He is armed, but not with a rifle. Just, looks like a cattle prodder. Over." The rope with the large carrier basket case lowered down. They all chanted silently, rooting the young man on. "Come on, Dave. Come on, David. You can make it." Dave fell a few times, but got up and limped his way toward them. At times it seemed that his left leg was mangled. Other times his right leg wasn't working right. He held the long taser out and occasionally pointed it toward himself. They saw sparks. They all thought, maybe he's tasing himself to spur himself on. As absurd as that sounded, that's what it looked like. As they watched, he switched the prodder to his left hand and once again aimed and connected it to his right leg. As confused as they were just glad Dave finally showed up. Obviously injured, but alive. He met with the lower stretcher. The pilot captain asked, "What is he doing?" The crew tried to report back, but just directed their screams at Dave. "Get in! Get in!" Dave yelled back, "No! Send a bag down! A big, really big bag! No, send a parachute down! I got something." It was a strange request, but they dropped a parachute bundle down. He continued to shout, "I'm gonna need some help." His voice was silenced. Major directed the crew to let her propel herself down. They agreed with her directive. She lowered herself down on a single line. When her boots hit the ground, she unpacked the parachute. She grabbed the cattle prodder from Dave, wrapped her arms around him. Then it appeared that she kissed him. She pulled away, stood back, and crammed the prodder toward Dave's lips. He yelled, "Thank you! I needed that!" She took a hold of the parachute and wrapped it around Dave. He kicked and punched in the air around him. It looked like he was having a severe seizure. His body jumped up and down. Major Hightower continued to hold the material around him. Soon enough, The three boys knew exactly what was happening. The military G.I. Joes had no idea. Dave slipped back out from the cloth parachute walls, still kicking it to get away. Hightower was thrusting the taser rod in and out in front of her. Sometimes they saw sparks fly from it making contact with something in the air. Once Dave was fully out, they both pulled the strings and wrapped them around the opening of the contraption so what was inside wouldn't escape. The parachute material revealed what was trapped inside. Ronnie spoke into the mouth gear with super confidence. "We got the octopus! We got it, dogs! Dave got it, boys! Yeah!" The two on the ground forced the filled parachute into the large basket. Major climbed the single rope with Dave on her back. They all welcomed Dave aboard. Quasi got her signs of affection in too. Only then did they hear the door slam shut and the copter rise. Dave broke away from them to look back at the island. A crew member slapped a helmet on his head. He pulled the microphone around to his mouth. His voice was raspy. "The struggle's over. Never did see the Scorpedo, though." The pilot said, "Oh, you want to see him? Well, we don't have much time, but before it gets dark, let me take you over to his habitation. Over." The other boys and Major flung themselves closer to the side windows. The crew leaned back. One said, "Go ahead. We've seen him before." The aircraft banked toward the island in order to fly over an amphitheater that had stadium-type seats, a shoreline of sand, and a tank of water. One of the men dropped something out of the window. He answered the question in their minds. "Bait." The chunk of meat didn't even get to hit the surface of the water. The scorpion shot out from some type of shelter on the side, sunk his tail into the bait, snatching it out of the air. It rolled into the water, and just as fast it emerged back out, belly first, onto the land. "This is your captain speaking. On your left and extended to your right, you'll see the infamous Scorpedo." He sounded like a tour guide. That was his full intention. They all looked down. As they all looked down, they marveled at the scorpion that really was the size of a torpedo, if not bigger. It acted more like a flesh-eating, living torpedo tyrant than a scorpion. The captain came over the speakers again. "Are you not entertained? Notice the scorpions have 8 legs, like spiders, while insects only have 6. Kinda almost makes you wish Hansen could have kept the zoo open, huh? Yeah, until you find out that the scorpion's tail can reach well beyond its enclosure. God help anything that enters those arena seats. Hansen didn't see that coming. Come on, ain't no safe place on this island." The boys all agreed, their voices united. "You ain't kidding, Captain." Dave strained to get one last glimpse of the Scorpedo, one of the many creatures they missed catching. He'd never look at a poster of that 8-legged kid killer the same again. His thoughts flew away from that distant cousin of spiders. He couldn't believe he brought the octopus on board, 8 legs and all. Last time the octopus grabbed him. This time he held it and ran while it fought to get away. Hightower couldn't believe she captured Ralph. The pilot came back over the PA in their ears. "You done well, boys. Better you than me. Anyway, I know we got a lot of cleanup, a lot of pickups to do, but earnestly, you did all the work. Thank you." He took a look over his shoulder and his eyes made contact with Major Hightower's eyes. He spoke directly to her, but they all heard his compliment. "Great job, Major." Turning back ahead, he cried out, "Let's get him home, men. Over." That word home warmed the kids' hearts. And now on to the last chapter, chapter 16.